All right, everybody. Thanks for coming out. I hope you're enjoying B-Sides Pittsburgh 2017. We have John Meyers here, who is a senior incident response analyst. Woo-hoo! Yeah, that's right. He helps clients solve their computer security problems. He has worked on a wide range of incidents through his career, including insider threats, APT, system compromises, and malware outbreaks. He's going to talk to us today about incident response and how it succeeds or fails at evidence collection. And as a lot of us may or may not know, it's really important to collect the right evidence at the right time. And that's kind of what we're going to cover today. Due to some issues that we had with this laptop, I don't think we're going to be able to have a demo, but we will do the best to verbally demonstrate those techniques. So here we go for John.
Yeah, sorry about that. I wanted to do a live demo, but technical difficulties are preventing me from doing that, so I apologize in advance. I'm John Meyers, again, Senior Incident Response Analyst at Entity Security. Part of my role is to actually go out and respond to incidents for clients. So if our clients have a malware outbreak or some kind of event or incident or something like that where they need incident response services or forensic services, then they come to my team and then we can help provide that. So we'll help them manage the incident, we'll do forensics, we'll do any log analysis for that. And the other side of the house that we do is we actually train our clients on how to do incident response. So we will actually go out and look at their incident response plans, we'll help them develop run books, and then we'll go on the client side and we'll run tabletop scenarios where we will actually explain to clients or run through different scenarios with them in their incident response team. So we'll pick a couple scenarios that are relevant, and we'll sit down with their incident response team and say, okay, you've been hacked, you had this network breach, what is your incident response team going to do next? And then we'll run through those scenarios. Prior to Entity Security, I worked at HP Enterprise. That was the old EDS that was bought out years ago for anybody who's been around a while. And I do have a home lab, and some of the things that I have in my home lab is Security Onion. I have a fog imaging server so I can image clients. I also have a Cuckoo box set up so I can do malware analysis. So a little bit of all that. If I'm not doing computer geek stuff, I have two Dobermans that I have to run, so I'm outside running them all the time. And in the fall, you will find me in the woods architecting. So evidence collection, what are we going to talk about? I'm going to talk a little bit about why you want to collect evidence, how you want to collect evidence, when you want to collect evidence, and the types of evidence that you actually want to collect. Why would you want to collect evidence? The biggest reason is you want to collect evidence so you can actually do analysis to the root cause of whatever event that caused you to have to collect evidence in the first place. So if you have some kind of security incident happening on your network, you have some kind of security control that failed at some point in the process. In order to understand where that process failed, you have to do some kind of root cause analysis. In order to do that, you actually have to collect your evidence. There might be regulatory reasons why you're collecting evidence, if you have e-discovery, if you have lawsuits, if you have anything like that going on, if you have some kind of intellectual property theft, those might be other reasons to collect evidence. And again, you want to try and improve your processes. So in order to really understand what happened and improve your processes, you have to understand what the root cause of the problem was in the first place. So when do you want to collect evidence? You want to collect it as soon as possible. So as soon as you're going to have to define when you're going to collect this evidence in your organization, though. You can't collect evidence every time a virus alert pops up or a user gets infected with a piece of commodity malware or anything like that. But if you actually define some scenarios where you're going to collect evidence, if you have some kind of malware outbreak, or you define what parameters you're going to use, that's when you start looking at collecting your evidence and what situations you actually want to kick off your incident response plan and collect that evidence. You want to collect it as soon as possible after the event. We've had clients come to us in the past, and they've had this incident going on for a week, and they want to know what happened on this laptop that they re-imaged or ran malware bytes on or cleaned up or some otherwise tampered over the last week. And they bring it to us and say, "What can you tell me about it?" And in this case, not a whole lot, because you've destroyed everything that I could have looked at to give you the answer on what actually happened. So try and collect your evidence as soon as possible. Ideally at the beginning of the incident when you first get the alert. And you want to collect that evidence prior to running your malware bytes, remediating the situation, before you guys get on there and start taking on logs. I come from a IT admin background, and I know when I was in that role, the first thing I wanted to do was get on the box and figure out why the user was having whatever problem they were having and fix it so I can go on my way. When you're handling incidents, you've got to resist that impulse. And when we're training new teams, a lot of times their IT department is doing their security incident response. We try and make it very clear that they have to resist that impulse and actually collect that evidence first and preserve it before they actually start doing their remediation. There's lots of forensic tools out there. I primarily use FTK Imager. Encase Forensic Imager is another one. DD works if you're on a Linux box, so all those tools will work. You want to hash your evidence when you collect it. FTK Imager and Encase, when you collect the disk image, they will actually build a hash for that evidence whenever it collects it, so you will have that hash available. If you're not using those tools or using DD, then you can use other tools like MD5 sum or something like that to get a hash of that evidence so you have a record of it. That way you can prove that the evidence hasn't changed since you've taken it. And then you want to create some working copies to actually work on that evidence. So when you're doing your analysis, your forensics, you want to actually be working on working copies or copies of that original evidence. And you want to preserve that original evidence in case something goes wrong with the process. If you have something screw up on your workstation or something like that, and the working copy gets deleted or otherwise corrupted, then you still have the original copy. You can still get another copy and still investigate the situation. You just lost a little bit of time. What types of evidence can we acquire? You can acquire memory, which is the active state of the system on the device. You can acquire the disk image, which is a bit-for-bit copy of the disk or the device or whatever user device you're collecting. And you can also get log files, so proxy logs, firewall logs, IDS logs, any of those sorts of things. And then other types of evidence could include PCAPs, if you have the ability to capture network data, traversing your network, and you can get those PCAPs. Maybe there's some PST files or something like that you want to grab. If you have some kind of cloud backup solution, maybe you want to get your cloud backup. So that's all kinds of different kinds of evidence that you can collect. When you're acquiring memory, you want to ask a few questions. The first one's going to be how big is the memory, because you've got to put that memory somewhere. Ideally, you want to have an external hard drive to drop that memory to. So you have an external drive that you can plug into a laptop or user device, and you can save your memory to that. If you don't have that storage, then you can write it to the disk itself. And then can you move that data from the network out to wherever you need to go. If you're doing a user device, it's not too hard to plug in a USB drive and capture your memory that way. But if you've got a server and a data center and you have very strict change controls in that data center about what you can and can't plug into those servers, then you probably maybe not plug an external device in there, and you're going to have to figure out some other way to get that memory off that server and to an environment where you can analyze it. Like I said, ideally it's nice to have an external USB storage device. You can write the memory to disk, but the one caveat to that is if you write it to disk, then you might overwrite unallocated space and any evidence that may have been in that unallocated space. Okay, this is where we're doing a live demo with FTK Imager. Unfortunately, I can't do that. I apologize. But it's a program that you can download from Access Data, and it's a GUI interface. There's a couple versions. There's the light version, which is you don't have to actually install it on anything. You can run it off a USB drive, and then there's the actual install version where you install it on a device and you run it that way. The installed version is more recent and more maintained than the light version. We try and use the light version in cases where we don't have to tinker on the device itself. So capturing the image is as simple as open up the GUI, clicking on File, and there's a capture memory button on there that you can actually capture memory. Acquiring a disk image. Some of the same kinds of questions are going to be needed to ask in this kind of situation. How much space is on the disk? So do you have a 500 gig hard drive? Do you have a terabyte hard drive? How much space is actually used on it? Are you using 100 gigs of it, or are you using a full terabyte of it? Because then you have to find a medium to put that data whenever you're actually capturing it. The other question you want to know is it encrypted? Almost every forensic tool out there can support BitLocker or any of the major encryption programs that you have deployed in an enterprise environment, provided that you can get those keys. So you can use that. But if you don't have access to the keys, or maybe it's some subject that you don't have access to the encryption keys, then you don't want to get a physical drive, you're going to want to get a logical drive so that you have the disk in its unencrypted form. And then if you want physical or logical image, again, another reason for that might be RAID. Every forensic tool out there will say they support RAID, and you can take physical images of a RAID device, and it'll stitch it back together and be able to present you the data. In practice, that works about 90% of the time. So what we do in my organization is we always try and grab a logical image of RAID servers prior to getting actual physical devices. That way, at least, if we have some issue with the RAID not being able to put back together by the forensic tool, then we still have an image of the server that we can use. And this is where I did a live demo of that SCAE imager on grabbing an image. Again, I don't have that, but again, once you have the GUI up, you can click File, and it's create disk image, and there's prompts that'll follow you through on how to actually create that disk image. Acquiring log files. One of the first things you want to do is find out if the logs that you're going to acquire are actually relevant and going to have the data that you want. In situations like this, maybe you're getting your firewall logs. Firewall logs will typically record the IP address. Not all firewall logs will log the domain name. So if you're actually looking for a domain name and you're looking in your firewall logs for that domain name, you might not find the information you're looking for. You're going to have to convert that domain name to an IP address because that's what the firewall logs have. Same for proxy logs. Proxy logs typically have a domain name, but maybe not an IP address, so the reverse is true. And then you need to know how big the log files are because you have to get them somewhere where you can analyze them. So I'm coming from a consulting background, so whenever our clients engage us and they're delivering files to us, if we're not already ingesting them or don't already have them, so they have to get them on some kind of storage or some kind of media to get them to us so we can analyze them. And then you want to ask if they can be parsed. I bring this up because checkpoint logs are in a binary format, and you can search and parse checkpoint logs on checkpoint devices. There's a lot of ways to do that, but if you're actually pulling that binary file out and giving it to me as a third party, if I don't have the checkpoint infrastructure in place to support that file, then I won't be able to do that. I have to convert that to text file. We ask all our clients to deliver files like that in text format because it's easier for us to parse and it's less expensive for them to pay for a time and materials. And yeah, make sure you have a way to read the files. And then I do another live demo. I'm sorry, I don't have any demos here. It's the way technology works nowadays. Maybe the next one. Okay, evidence triage. What I'm talking about here is figuring out what evidence you want to look at first. Again, I come from a consulting background, so whenever we get engaged in an incident, usually we have a client throwing a bunch of different evidence at us. We're going to get disk images from 3 or 4 different devices, maybe memory, log files. All this sorts of evidence is coming in, and you need to sit down and figure out what you need to look at first and prioritize where you're going to get the most bang for your buck for the time spent. So you want to try and focus on the high-value items for whatever particular case that you're working on. So here's a couple examples. Say that we're working on a phishing email case where a phishing email was used to install malware. So now you've got to think, there's going to be lots of different logs available. We've got to think about what the most important or where the most high priority data is going to be at that we want to actually know about. So if you have a phishing email, then there's probably going to be exchange logs, PST logs, maybe there's going to be memories of memory, maybe there's going to be actually remnants on the disk of the actual phishing email. So those would be the kinds of places where you want to look for to find that phishing email to see if you can find that evidence. If you have malware installed, then the kinds of places you're going to look at are on the disk, and you're going to want to look at the MFT file to see if that file's been installed. Maybe there's some remnants in the registry where the malware has changed registry settings. Possibly there's proxy logs and firewall logs if that malware is talking out to a command and control location out on the internet, so you might have logs there. And again, memory, you might have running processes and network connections and those sorts of things that are relevant to your case. Another example, maybe you have sensitive company documents released on Pastebin. Nobody wants to wake up to that first thing in the morning that your sensitive documents are up on Pastebin. But if you have that kind of situation, you kind of have to figure out how you're going to define that. And it's kind of a broad thing. So if you have sensitive documents, the things you want to think of is where were those documents and who had access to them, because that's going to give you the scope of the users that might have had something happen on their devices. And then you're going to want to, where would you find that information? So maybe SharePoint logs, TLP logs if you have data loss prevention installed in your network, AD audit logs if you have certain auditing enabled, you can tell when people touch files or move files or anything like that, and those logs might be relevant to your case on who actually had access and touched those files. Now, if the data's been released on Pastebin, the questions you want to ask, the two different scenarios are maybe you had a malicious insider or maybe it was a hacker broke into your network. You got to consider both those scenarios. And you got to think about where the evidence might be to support or disprove those theories. So if it's internal employee, maybe there's device images or endpoint images, proxy logs, firewall logs. If they were actually uploading this stuff from inside your corporate network to Pastebin, then you might actually have a record of that. If they're taking that stuff out and doing it from their own network, maybe not so much. But then the other thing you can look for is signs of data exfiltration. So if a hacker came in there, typically their mode of operation is they find all these sensitive documents, they roll them up into, they compress them into an archive file or a zip file or a WAR file, and then they move them off the network. So you want to look for evidence of that activity happening to prove or disprove your hacking. Triage memory. Some of the tools that you can use is Volatility and Vault Extractor. That's what I use on a day-to-day basis. I'll use Volatility to do a lot of the memory analysis itself. Look at running processes, network connections, those sorts of things. PS list, PS tree, those are kind of things I want to look at. So whenever I have a memory image, the first thing the couple of things I definitely want to look at is what processes are running in memory and what network connections was that device talking to. That's my two primary things, and usually that'll lead you to other areas in the memory that you want to look at. For network connections on Volatility, it's NetScan on Windows 7 and ConScan on Windows XP. Hopefully nobody's still running Windows XP in their environment, but based on the WannaCry virus, apparently there still are organizations that have that out there, so it's still out there. Other relevant artifacts you might find in memory, user accounts, decryption keys. If you have ransomware installed, the decryption keys may still be in memory. URLs, registry, Internet Explorer history, all those sorts of things can be found in memory and may be relevant to your case. You can also pull out the MFP from memory too if you don't have it. Okay, if you have your disk image, how do you triage that? You kind of want to focus on where the artifacts are going to be that are relevant to whatever it is that you're investigating. So you have to have understanding of what you're looking for. Again, the tools that you use, FTK, NCase, those are the big ones, Equays, SIFT Workstation, all of those can be used to examine the disk. The MFT will show you the files that are on the system. So if you want to know if some file has been on there, a user executed it, or malware installed, or something like that, the MFT is a really good resource to look for those kinds of artifacts. The registry is a database. It's going to record all the changes on the system, all the configuration stuff. So again, if you're looking for something that was installed or changed on the system or anything along those lines, then you might be able to find your evidence in the registry. So that'd be a good question. Browser history, that's kind of self-explanatory. If you want to find out if the user actually clicked on that phishing link and went out to a URL and downloaded that malware, then your browser history might contain that kind of evidence. Event logs. It records Windows events. The event logs always have, I won't say always, but it's underrated what the event logs have on a system. I always try and look at event logs in every system I look at because you never know what you're going to find. Even with default settings on Windows event log recording, you can still find good information in the event logs about what happened on the system. The important ones are who's logging off the system, so you log on, log off. If somebody's trying to use lateral movement and running remote services, that's always good when you can find in event logs. So those kinds of things are what you would find in event logs. And then other relevant logs, you might have antivirus logs on there or host firewall logs on there. Be sure to check those out too, because sometimes those will be key to your investigation. You'd be surprised what the antivirus records. Oh, we've seen this virus and come down and get installed, but we didn't do anything to stop it. So at least they've seen it, but they didn't actually stop the infection, and at least you have a little bit more information than triaging logs. And I'm coming at this from firewall IDS logs. You always want to start with what you know. So you had some kind of event that happened on your network, whether it's an IDS alert or some other event like that. You have a date and time, hopefully, on when this activity occurred. So you start with what you know and look at your logs from there. I'm used to digging through gigs and gigs of logs, and you can't just look at that stuff line by line. I've actually had clients on a call saying, yeah, we're looking at these logs one by one, and that's the wrong way to do it. You actually have to find out what you want to look for and search for that. So you start with what you know, and you look for activity around that known event. So if you have an IDS alert or you have a malicious IP address, and you want to look at what happened before and after, and kind of get an idea of what other activity occurred during that time frame. And if you ever get to a point where you're looking for unknown bad, and we do get that quite a bit, more than we should actually, but it does happen. Then you want to start filtering out known good. And this is where grep minus v is your friend, because you can actually look for known good IP addresses, known good URLs, Microsoft.com, those sorts of things. You can grep for that kind of information, see that it's known good, and then suppress that with grep minus v, and then you're left with the other stuff in the logs. Okay, quick war story. The details have been changed because I want to protect the victim here, but this is kind of the thought process that we went through on a particular case. Whenever and it seems like an incident response, there's always something coming down the line that you've never seen before. But this is one of those unique ones. So a client was phished. We're going to say that their user accounts, that they were compromised and they were using to send out spam. So they know they've been phished, the user accounts were compromised, their users are now sending out spam, and then they notice it. So they found some phishing emails from some of the users. So there's 50-odd users involved, and they found phishing emails in a subset, maybe 20 of those users, and they wanted to know if the other, how those other 30 users got phished. If it was the same fish, if it was a different fish, if the same group used a different fish, what happened. So they wanted to know what else happened and what else they missed. So looking at this from a solution perspective, the easiest solution would have been if they actually had inline monitoring installed where they could actually scan their emails for URLs, scan the attachments for URLs, and then run those through a sandbox and find the malicious ones before they ever hit the users. Of course, that wasn't installed, which is why they engaged us. But it wasn't available at the time. It's not something they could stand up, and it wasn't something we could use. So next, they gave us the files, and I said, we're throwing them in our forensic tool FTK, and we figured we'd do some keyword searches, maybe try and find something like that. A little background on their business processes. A lot of their business processes actually rely on users sending documents and PDF files to other users with URL links inside to support their business processes. So that was the way they ran their business. So of course that led to a very high hit count and a very high false positive rate, because we have all kinds of documents in this environment that are using internal links and external links to run their business processes. So using FTK and doing keyword searches for like HTTP and URL was just, it was going to take too long in order to process that data. So we ran one of their PDF files through Cuckoo. Cuckoo's a malware analysis box. Now, Cuckoo doesn't do very well on phishing emails because generally it's just a link to a URL, and it's required that the user click on that link and follow it up. We had a couple of A/B hits on those particular ones, but nothing earth-shattering. There's no malware embedded in it. It's not running any scripts or anything like that based on a Cuckoo analysis. It's just a PDF file with a link outside, and they trick the user into clicking on the link. But what I did notice was that the strings listing in Cuckoo actually listed the malicious URL we were looking for, which is good. The downside was that I couldn't feasibly running 9,000 plus PDF files through Cuckoo box and individually looking at all those string results was just, again, it's not something we wanted to do. So we decided to run the strings command on all these PDF files and pull all the strings out of all of the PDF files and then use our other commands in order to filter that data out. So we extracted the PDF files, we ran strings minus f. Strings minus f will actually prepend the file name of whatever string it finds in the file. So you'll have a file name, then you'll have a string. If you've ever seen strings command run, it pulls all the ASCII characters out and it puts them in a list. So there's garbage in there, there's random characters together, and then there's a few tidbits of useful information, URLs, commands, and those sorts of things. So once we run that, the strings minus f, and then we put it into another file, then what we can do is we can grep on that file for HTTP. Since we're looking for malicious URLs, most URLs are prepended with HTTP, so we figure we do a grep search on that. And that gave us a list of every HTTP URL file and all of those PDFs, which it's a lot of data to go through, but it's a solvable problem with command line tools. So what you do then is you filter for known good domains. So we know that Microsoft.com is probably not a malicious URL. I mean, some may argue with that on some cases, but generally it's not a malicious URL. So you do your grep for Microsoft.com and you review those results. So when you're looking for Microsoft.com, what I do, I use the -i option and I actually do the grep first for the particular URL that I'm looking for, in this case Microsoft, and then I review those results. There's one thing in particular that I'm looking for, and I want to make sure that the malware actor is not trying to trick the users by having something in there that says Microsoft.com.badguydomain.com or something like that. So I want to make sure Microsoft.com is not prepended to any malicious URL or domain names. So I review the process, review those hits, and once those hits are reviewed, then I suppress that with -v. And then I move on to the next domain URL that's in the list. Adobe.com, the clientdomain.com. So all those things you do, you go through that. And then at the end of that process, you actually have a list of unknown URLs that you know aren't good, and then you can use those to go through your threat intelligence feeds or any other tools or processes, VirusTotal, Google, whatever other process you normally use to find out your malicious URLs. And that's all I have for now. I was going to do another demonstration where I show you how to search for stuff with FTK Imager, but no live demonstrations, and I apologize for that. So I apologize for the technical problems, but if there's any questions, I will take questions. Yeah?
If you wanted to find malware to analyze, where would you find that? Because it seems like Google seems to whitewash that a bit. And do you ever make use of debugging?
There are sites that actually have malware samples on them. I don't remember the exact search term I was using, but there are sites out there that have that stuff. I was just pulling down some malware to do some analysis probably about a month ago. But there are sites out there that have it. I don't have any at the top, right at the tip of my tongue here, so to speak. But as far as using a debugger, yes, I do use that on occasion, doing malware analysis. Yes?
What's the decision process that you've seen your clients use and making a decision whether to go and try to find whoever the attacker was versus the cost, or what are some of the things they think about when they say, should we pursue this or just re-image and move on?
Cost is a big one. Like I said, I'm coming from a consulting background, so it's usually a time and materials cost whenever they engage our team. Sometimes it's a regulatory requirement if there's any kind of reporting or anything like that. So that's going to play into how much investigation they're going to do. If they're required by some regulatory requirement to actually investigate whatever happened, then that'll be the decision that they make. But yeah, cost is a big one, and then whether there's any regulatory organizations that take. Yes.
I was just going to say, if you're looking for malware, if you send your
Yes. Yeah.
For gathering evidence, what are you doing in the mobile sector?
The mobile sector, there are tools out there that can do mobile analysis, access data guidance. All the big names have something for mobile. Generally, you're going to grab the phone itself. A lot of the newer phones that are coming out, like the iPhone 7 and all that, they're encrypting their data, so grabbing that actual image is tough. A lot of what's happening in the forensic community now is they're relying on like the iCloud backups, and if it's a corporate phone, having some other kind of method to get that data off. Yes?
Do your techniques change at all if you have to go to court versus, or if you expect this to be presented in court versus not?
We operate on the assumption that we will go to court. Most of the time we don't. So, we collect our evidence, we do a chain of custody, all those sorts of things. We have processes in place on how we actually collect our evidence and do our analysis, so that if we ever do have to go to court, then we can go and testify to those processes. We operate on the assumption that we're going to go to court. 90% of the time we go. Yes?
How difficult is it to deal with mobile analysis on iPhone versus
iPhone has the cloud backup, and mobile analysis I'm not an expert on this, but the iPhone actually has a cloud backup, which kind of makes it easier if you can get access to that cloud backup. It's a little bit easier to get the data. A lot of the Android, you can connect it to certain devices to get images, but the trick you're going to find with Android is, one, do you have a driver for that particular phone, and do the forensic tools support the driver for that particular phone? Newer phones, it's usually not an issue, but if you get into older phones or older models, there may not be drivers available in order to actually get those images.
It surprises me a lot because I thought it would be easier I didn't think about the iPhone.
Yeah.
That's something.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you for your time. I'm sorry that the demo didn't work. I apologize. We will try and do better next time.